Hello you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So, I just wanted to talk about surgeries. I know as trans identified people, often our transitions are defined by what surgeries we've had or what surgeries we haven't had, or we feel that our transitions are, determined or defined by these things. So I've only ever had one surgery, which is an orchiectomy. So I just wanted to talk about my experience having had that surgery, regrets that I might have about the surgery, and things that I would have done differently if I were given an opportunity. So we're going to go back in time to the year. What year was it when I had it done? It would have been around 2017. So it's a while back. Now, I first found out about the surgery, about getting an orchiectomy, from the psychologist I was seeing in college. Now, back in the early 2010s, the assumption was that if you're trans, especially M to F, there is only one way for you to transition, which is, eventually having bottom surgery. So when I would speak to psychologists, when I would speak to doctors, the advice they would give me was always related, um, or it always directed me towards having bottom surgery, which I think at the time is something that I definitely felt that I wanted. Not only wanted, but I felt that I needed. I felt that if I was going to transition, I needed to shed myself completely of my old former self. And I wanted full bottom surgery. So the orchiectomy, it felt like one step towards the final surgery that I would have. So before I even had the orchiectomy, I did some research, and I found out that, a lot of people who have the orchiectomy, their member downstairs, Penelope or penis, whatever you want to call it, doesn't work in the same way. And thinking about it, I mean, if you're having this type of surgery and you are hoping to eventually get bottom surgery, that wouldn't be something that would or should really bother you. I remember realizing or believing that after I've had my surgery, I won't be able to feel anything down there. And I got to a point where I was happy with that. And the reason I was happy with that was me self-actualizing and becoming the person that I've always wanted to be, or the person that I felt that I was on the inside, was more important to me than any type of sexual gratification. So it's the year 2017, 18, around there. I basically get a loan to do this surgery, and I lived in Cape Town at the time, so I had to fly over, or I had to rather go over to another city. I remember I took the bus. I didn't fly to PE, I took the bus. And because I took the bus, I ended up being late. The day of my surgery, I arrive in frickin' Port Elizabeth, and within like an hour, I have to check into surgery, sign myself in, and get, all ready to get cut up. I remember being super excited, but also, I don't know, like, you kind of have to understand, I'd wanted this surgery since the year 2011, essentially, when I first found out about it. And I waited so many years. I had to first go through college, and then I had to start working to save up money and to get loans and stuff. So when I eventually got to a point and a place in my life where I could have the surgery, I'd already dealt with so much transphobia. I'd already dealt with, I don't know, like I dealt with the disillusionment that comes with being trans. You know, often you transition believing that this is going to be the one thing that saves your life. But whilst you're transitioning, it feels like you coming into yourself is destroying everything. It feels like your life is falling apart. And I guess I was really disillusioned. I'd waited so long to have this surgery that I was even doubtful if there were going to be any physical results, if I was going to see anything, if my face and my body would, even show that I'd had surgery. And yeah, I was kind of worried that, I was going to do this massive thing to my body and it would all be for naught. It would all be for nothing. It would all come to just disappointment. I was a little bit afraid of the pain, but at that point, I'd already, worked on affirmations. I'd worked on, body positivity, and I really believed in the mind-body connection. So I really believed in my heart that if I maintained a positive mindset and I kept affirming to myself that my body would restore itself to its natural state of good health, and I kept affirming to myself that I was moving into, the surgery was helping me move into my happiness. I just kept, repeating those mantras and trying to calm myself down with those words, because let me be honest, like the day of my surgery, I was alone up in that hospital, girl. I rocked up there and I'll never forget. So I get off my bus and I go to the hospital and I go and I speak to the receptionist who I'd spoken to, telephonically, and I'd emailed. And, I let her know that my name is Christabel and I've come in for the orchiectomy with Dr. Enslin. Girl, tell me why this woman thought I was there looking for work as a janitor or as a cleaner, but that's besides the point. Anyways, so I get there and I'm alone. Before the surgery, I just start affirming to myself that, everything is fine and I will be happy with whatever outcome comes from this. Because I think I'd gotten to a point where I'd saved up so much money, I'd already paid the deposit. I was in the hospital room, everything was booked and ready. And I knew deep down inside that I wanted to do this. But I had all of these doubts that it would even work. But I just told myself in that moment that I was okay and my body would just restore itself to its natural state of good health. Girl, I go into that operating room and, I'm talking to the anesthesiologist. We're having a grand old time. And then it's lights out. Next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed, in a different part of the hospital. Now, I would have expected to wake up with throbbing pain, but that's not what I experienced. I woke up like I'd just woken up from a dream. It was so funny because after my surgery, I was waiting for my doctor to come in and to tell me, how the surgery went and for him to tell me about aftercare, or one of the medical staff to come and tell me. Girl, they didn't do that. They left me there by myself. So I'm sitting up on this hospital bed and I'm busy doing my makeup and getting ready to go because I didn't want to walk out of that hospital room looking like I just had surgery. Even though I had. So I I get my makeup done, and I change out of the clothes that I was in. I'm later informed that the doctor has left and no one is gonna, be telling me about any aftercare or anything like that. The nurse just gave me some painkillers and a note, and that was pretty much it. But the funny thing is, even though the medical staff didn't really care about, me as a patient, me going through the surgery, even though I felt that I was alone, there was this man who was on the opposite side of the room that I was in. So after the surgery, I get put into this room with all of these hospital beds. And there's this older white gentleman right across, my bed. And he sees me, about to get ready to leave. So he comes up to me and he asks if he could pray for me. He first asked what language I spoke. So he asked if I could speak English or if I could speak a language called Afrikaans. So I was like, no, I can speak English. So he was like, okay, fine. And he starts praying for me. And I did not know this person from a bar of soap. Here was some Christian person praying over me after I've just had an orchiectomy surgery, or rather a surgery that is moving me towards becoming the woman that I've always wanted to be in my heart. And for me, that was such a beautiful moment, because if you're someone like me who comes from a religious background, someone like me who's valued religiosity, and someone who's been harmed by religiosity, doing anything that is in alignment with your gender transition feels as though it's a direct contradiction of what you were taught and raised to be. So in that moment, having someone who was religious acknowledge me and pray over me and speak well wishes over me, even though I didn't know this person, that was the only person that was there for me the day of my surgery, and I'll never forget that. So I'm done with my surgery, get my bag, get everything. I order my Uber, and I used to have this friend. We're gonna call her Leslie. So I go and I pick up Leslie from college. I jump out of the cab and I give her a hug. And she's all like, bitch, did you even have the surgery? Because you're in these skinny jeans and you're moving around. Like, it doesn't even look like anything happened to you. And it's crazy because my pain levels were, it's like they were non-existent. The only thing that I had were hot flashes. Now, as the days progressed, there was a lot of swelling down there. And it was actually crazy because the next morning is when I felt, like an intense, sharp pain down in the surgical area, if you will. And it was only after I'd had my medication that I realized, okay, yeah, they did something down there. Now, if you have an orchiectomy, you're not supposed to wear a tight-fitting clothes. I didn't know this. I was out in my skinny jeans. I was out trying to tuck. I don't know what I was trying to tuck. And I was really surprised that on my third day, I was starting to get erections again. Now, I'm sorry if I'm being too real for some of you, but I just assume that if they cut the testicles off of your body, you're not going to be able to, like, Penelope's not going to be able to stand up. I mean, you basically are castrating yourself, right? That wasn't my the swelling wasn't going down and I was still getting erections. So I do research on the surgery, and I later get an invoice, and it said invoice for an orchiectomy. And I'm like, what the hell is an orchiectomy? I do some research only to find out that an orchiectomy is an orchiectomy where they remove only one of your testicles. Now, if they remove one of your testicles, the other testicle just does, double the work. It goes on overtime. So your testosterone is still like pumping through your body. The point of an orchiectomy surgery, and I probably should have started with this, but the point of that surgery is to get all of the testosterone out of your body so that when you use hormones, your body will be more responsive. It is, it's kind of like the broke girl surgery before she has SRS. And that's how I viewed it. So to find out that I was getting an invoice for an orchiectomy, I was freaked out. Like, because you have to sort of understand, if they had performed an orchiectomy on me, there was no point in me even having the surgery. Thank God the swelling went down, and I later realized that no, they had in fact performed the right surgery on me. I guess my body's just really resilient. I don't know. But it was weird because a lot of other women other trans women who've had orchiectomies, they'll talk about having sex after the orchiectomy and what that feels like. And I'll never forget watching a video years back where this girl was talking about, how she experienced sex after having an orchiectomy. Now, I'm just going to call a thing. I get erections, and I assumed that I wouldn't get them after the surgery. I also assumed that I wouldn't be able to climax because what are you going to shoot out if you don't have... sorry if I'm being too rude, but if you don't have testicles and you don't have stuff down there, what are you going to shoot out, So I was really, really taken aback at the fact that my body still was, I suppose, acting in its normal, regular, schmegular way. And not only did it act in its normal, regular, schmegular way, I noticed how, and I hate to say this, but in my experience at least, I found that orgasms were way more intense. Way better. Girl, I mean, I don't want to be crass, but before you have the surgery, or before I had the surgery, I could only climax once and everything would be out of my body and it was quick and it was intense. But after the surgery, there was almost like this lingering feeling. And the best way I can describe it is after you've climaxed, it almost feels like you're not done and you can still keep going. And that's just been such an amazing thing for me because not only have I been able to transition, and not only did I start to see the physical results, because I would say about a month and a half into my surgery, I could see changes. The hormones beat my ass up like no one's business, girl. Like, I went through an intense glow up, like, oh my gosh, like, the year of my surgery was like one of the best years because I was finally stepping into myself. So I felt like I was finally starting to pass girl in most situations. And on top of that, I didn't lose my ability to enjoy sex. I didn't lose my ability to enjoy climaxing. I know for some other girls, they do lose their ability, and for some other girls, their size and width is definitely affected. Now, if you're someone who has dysphoria regarding that area, this is all good news for you. But if you're somebody that wants to keep your stuff working, my best and my honest advice would be, if you can hold it off and rather have facial feminization surgery or other surgeries that do not mess with your genitalia, I would say rather opt for that if you know that you don't want SRS and you know that you don't want that stuff affected. But if you do have dysphoria, this can be such a wonderful tool. Like if you have dysphoria around that area, it can be such a wonderful tool in reducing that dysphoria. Once you start to see your body change and morph into the version of yourself that you've always wanted, it really does have tremendous psychological benefits, or at least it's had for me. I think transitioning is a beautiful thing, and the fact that we as trans women and trans men can transition in various ways is beautiful. But what I say to you is that before you have any surgery, ask yourself this: what do I want to get out of this new life? What do I want to get out of this transition? Don't look at how other people are transitioning, and don't look at how, a potential partner will view you. Look at what your soul and what your heart's telling you. You know what I mean? Take a deep breath and be quiet with yourself. Ask yourself if this is what you really want. I know for myself, I know for me personally, not speaking for anybody else, this surgery saved my life. It saved my life. It definitely did. It helped me take my power back in some ways. It helped me feel confident enough to be myself, because after the surgery, like I said, that's when my body really started changing. So, yeah, this is a surgery I was always supposed to have. In terms of SRS surgery, I'm not going to get rid of my member down there. I've grown to a point where, I accept, I embrace, and I celebrate the miracle that is my body. And that's an affirmation that I've always tried to live by. It's harder to live in practice than it is to say in your head, but I try to always say to myself, I celebrate the miracle that is my body. I celebrate all of the perceived flaws that other people see in me. And I recognize that I am a divine being, worthy of love, respect, and honor, not only from other people, but most importantly for myself. I give myself permission to transition in the most authentic way. I hope that in your journey, on your path, you find the peace that you were always born to have. You find the peace that is your divine birthright. You find the joy that you were always supposed to have. And most importantly, you get to be you in whatever way that looks like. All right, so I'm going to end the video there. If you have any questions about just my surgery or the orchiectomy or where I got it done in South Africa, just in the comments. I think at the time, it was super, super, super cheap. I think I paid like, in South African Rand, like, I think it was like 6,000. It was like 6,000. It was something ridiculously cheap, and it was paid off in increments. But the one thing I want you to know, if you are living anywhere in the world, whether it be it the United States, South Africa, or wherever, do not let the fear of how much a surgery is going to cost deter you. If you want to make something happen, it will happen. Anyways, I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And bye.